Hello and welcome to Honest Faith Conversations. As always, I am your co-host, Miguel Covarrubias.
And I am Kathy Covarrubias. And today, let's talk about Glow, the gorgeous ladies of wrestling.
All right, so we are going to be talking about the whole season. So if you have not had a chance to go and watch the entire season on Netflix, go and do so.
Yep.
Be good little binge watchers like the rest of us in America.
Yeah, it's a really quick season too, because all of the episodes are only a half an hour long, so it's pretty quick. It is not family friendly, especially the first episode. I think it's just the first episode.
Yeah, there are a few episodes that are not family friendly or family appropriate either. So
yeah.
And with that being said, also to let you know, we are not going to go to the obvious conversation topics for this because that would be way too easy.
Yeah.
Talking about feminism and racism because that's pretty self-evident in the show.
Yes.
That being said, this is the day that they announced the next Doctor, the 13th Doctor, which I'm sure you know by now is Jodie Whittaker, which I think is fantastic, and there's going to be a huge uproar about...
There is already a huge uproar.
There already is a huge uproar about feminism, so we're not going to touch on that topic today. Instead, we're going to talk about some other things from Glow. So we're going to do our summary and review here. So, brief summary for me would be in 1980s, the beginning of women's wrestling, a new television show. So that's a short summary for you.
That is very, very short.
It is short.
You could have just said women's wrestling, and
women's wrestling.
It would have been more efficient.
The beginning of women's wrestling, because that's more efficient for that one. For me, I thought it was very entertaining. It was very good. I think the characters were pretty well fleshed out. There were a few that were not, that I felt like they could have been.
Yeah, I wanted some more from some.
Yeah, there were some that you just kind of were like Jenny. I think Jenny was the name of the one that actually won 2 gold medals at the Olympics. So I was kind of like, I wanted to get her a little bit more fleshed out. What did she win them in? And there were a lot of those questions that kind of popped up that I'm like, why is she just a bland character? And then you're going to be a Viking.
No, it's not Jenny.
Which one is it?
I think it's Reggie.
Reggie?
Yeah, Jenny is Fortune Cookie.
Oh, okay. And so that for me, I felt like, well, I know what they were kind of focusing on. I know what they were doing. And so for me, I thought it was rather entertaining. So I will give it a 3.5 Miguel thumbs up out of 5. I don't know. I'm just making the system up right now.
Okay, I was about to say, okay. So with my summary, I would like to, of course, sprinkle in my own Kathy pizzazz to the summary. So it's a group of I would say more lady misfits. Like they're just kind of like, they hear about this audition and it was more like, oh, this sounds like it would be fun, and not necessarily a, hey, I want to expand my career and I need like money. Most of them are there just for the sheer curiosity because nobody knows really what it is for when they first audition. And then none of them, very few of them have any actual experience or knowledge of the wrestling world. And so it's them trying to figure out what they're supposed to do, and expectations are set, and or like their expectations aren't met, and I'm being told I need to wrap it up, and one thing led to another, and then somebody gets a crown at the end.
Okay.
You just gotta watch it. I don't know. It's pretty much, that was it, right? The ladies get together, they learn how to wrestle, somebody gets a crown at the end.
Okay. Sure. And your review?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. No wonder why you're staring at me. I liked it. I wouldn't necessarily put it in, like, any of my, like, top, like, must-see. It's definitely a Like, if you want something to watch that's better than a lot of the other stuff on Netflix, I would watch it. Like, I would say it's better than some of the other Netflix originals that I have seen.
Yeah, like the one with the werewolves and stuff.
Yeah.
With I think Famke Jackson is in it.
Yeah, I can't remember what that one was. But
Jensen, whatever her name is.
But, yeah. So I would, if you had time, maybe this would be one of those shows that you would watch in between your shows that you normally watch. And then, like, in between seasons. Like, that would be a good opportunity to watch the show.
Yeah, and then, Game of Thrones is starting this week. So.
Yes. And we have a very generous friend of ours has given us her username and password so we can watch it tonight.
Tomorrow, because I don't think we can watch it as it's airing.
Oh, but
we had that problem last year.
Oh, yes, that's true.
So I think that really this entire series is more or less about all of these characters kind of going through these transitions and learning how to be human or, well,
be themselves.
Wolf, like.
Yes. Be true to themselves.
Be true to themselves throughout the entire series. And, each character has that transformation of going from, not really sure of who they are, not really sure of what they are.
Or what they're doing here.
Or what they're doing there. I mean, it has a lot of the classic sports movie and show archetypes, and even at the very end, with the ending, not the one person not winning the way that they're supposed to win, is kind of a classic sports movie trope.
Yep.
But when the director says, no, this leads to a better story, that's exactly the point in that. Is that there is not, the sports movie trope is, those ones where they kind of end up winning, they don't really lead to more story after that.
Yeah, they're just like,
all right, we won, yay! Or, and it's kind of like, what movie is that? It's the Texas football team.
Friday Night Lights?
It's kind of that's based on them. And I can't remember the name of the
I don't know. You're asking the wrong person. I do not watch sports movies. Like, there's very few sports movies that I have watched.
Yeah, much less one about wrestling and,
But I was intrigued.
TV
80s.
wrestling.
Yeah, but it was set in the 80s. There's a lot of pink and glitter in it. Like, I could not say no to pink and glitter. Now, if more sports movies had pink and glitter in it, I would definitely watch them.
Okay.
Note to future producers out there.
If you set them in the 80s and have pink and glitter, Kathy will watch them.
Yep, I will watch them.
And we may talk about it on our show. For example, I would use the kind of the main characters here. The three mains that I'm going to talk about are Ruth, Debbie, and the director. Sam, thank you. And with Ruth, you start off the series, she really doesn't know who she is. She knows that she wants more women in Hollywood and all that other stuff. That
she wants good roles.
She wants good roles, yeah, but she doesn't really know how to act because she's not in touch with herself. And that's what I can say about a lot of actors, is that they don't really know who they are. So how can they portray somebody else without even knowing who they are?
Well, and a lot of the times with actors, and I think this was definitely in Ruth's case, like, because she hadn't experienced the emotions her characters were supposed to have experienced, it's hard to act a certain way if you've never actually experienced yourself, because you don't know how you would actually react in that situation. Yeah.
And so she went into this thinking, oh yes, I'm an actress and I'm going to do this thing, and he should cast me because I'm an actor, and yeah. And
clearly these other people aren't.
Yeah, and she really runs up into that wall, and it harms her, but also shows her throughout the entire show of how her progression, how she's learning to be herself, learning to interact with herself. With Debbie, it's more about that family dynamic with what's happened and with having the baby first and then finding out that her husband cheated on her with her best friend and all of these other things. And then thinking that wrestling is just, why? And then learning, throughout this is getting in touch with herself and becoming who she is throughout the show. And Sam really comes to her, when he convinces her to do it, and he's telling her about, you were on the show, but you wanted more lines, you wanted to be more yourself, but you weren't able to. That whole speech there is kind of like her transition throughout the entire show.
Yep.
With Sam, it's that being a true artist for him, and for him it was, just trying to offend people because, that I think is the easiest form of art, the lowest form of art, if you can say. It's because people are so easily offended. And so, yeah, of course you're going to be offensive because, yeah, it's easy. But
yeah, it's the easy way to get people to watch it because, heck, what was that Seth Rogen movie about North Korea? Like, that really wasn't that great of a movie.
Yeah, The Interview.
Yes, but people wanted to watch it because they knew it was going to be offensive. I mean, obviously North Korea was offended by it because North Korea is offended by, everything. Yeah. There could be a blade of grass on the ground and they'd be offended by it. Showing individuality.
You just offended North Korea.
Sorry.
How dare you on our podcast, Kathy?
I know. I'm sorry.
So, with Sam, he really gets in touch with himself, and especially after his breaking point, after finding out that his script is very much like Back to the Future. Which, like, when he first described his script, I'm like, that's Back to the Future. And, like, nobody else called him on that until that one scene. And he's like, wait, what? And that was his breaking point. And I think that really kind of got him in touch with himself. And that's why when he comes to the end there, and when he changes the ending on everybody at the last minute, that's when he's really that artist. When he knows what's going to sell a story, what's going to be that piece for them. And I think that really gets him in touch with himself. And I can say this about, like, a lot of people who consider themselves actors. It's really the best way to kind of convey your story in a way. And learning how to just be yourself in that. Because that, honestly, if you're true to yourself, if you're true to what you're trying to do, that is the best art that I can say that you're making. And for me, that's what I'm trying to do through my blog, through my writing, through the book. But I'll talk about that here later at the end. As you know, it's coming because, yeah, you listened last week maybe. And I think this was part of my whole transition from ministry for me. And in fact, yesterday I was listening to the latest Liturgist podcast as I was cooking dinner. And, if you're like me...
By the way, his mac and cheese was great.
Yeah. Homemade mac and cheese. I did burn the roux a little bit. You French cooking enthusiasts. You know how easy it is to do, but also how hard a roux can be.
I still ate it.
It was good. You couldn't notice afterwards. But in it, they interviewed Rob Bell. And if you know me, you know that Rob Bell has been a huge influence on my ministry. Not just my ministry, but my life over the past 13 years. Rob Bell has been, kind of my prime example of what, a Christian spiritual leader should look like. And, he's talking about why he left his church and all of this other things and about especially what the Bible is about. And he goes on to talk about the 10 Commandments. I don't know why I was going to say 12. That's weird.
12 disciples.
12 disciples, maybe. But the 10 Commandments, and he's saying, people are using these, oh, yes, these are the ultimate laws or whatever. But he's saying, no, to these people at this time, this is what it meant. These were rules in how to be human again after the tragedy of being slaves. These were teaching slaves how to be a human again. And I saw that so much here in myself, especially for my transition from ministry into what I'm calling the real world now, is that I'm learning how to be human again. And for these ladies, for the director, for every single character in this show, I think, is going through this transition of trying to figure out how to be themselves, how to be human in the world. And I think that's very essential with all of them, especially with Sheila. Sheila's kind of the reverse side of things. Sheila is learning how to accept acceptance.
Yeah, because she already knows herself. Like, she even flat out tells Ruth, like, I'm not playing a character. Like, this is me. This is me. This is who I am. Like, this is how I've been for years. I already know who I am. I already know myself enough to know this is what makes me happy.
But I think there was a part of her that was wanting that because it offended people, because it shocked people away from her.
Uh-huh.
And that's what she was trying to do, was trying to get people away from her.
Being the lone wolf.
Yeah. So we see this in her throughout the entire show, is that in her way of learning to be human is learning to come to accept the acceptance of her as she is.
Mm-hmm.
And you could see this in the entire episode with her birthday scene, with learning to skate and then loving skating,
mm-hmm.
and how they all accepted her as the she-wolf and putting her age in wolf years on the cake, mm-hmm. and just that acceptance of her as she was. And I think that essentially that's what makes a community. That's what makes a church community. But again, I'll talk about that later on. And I think that all of it's tempering our own expectations to really accept each other,
mm-hmm.
and accept what each other's expectations are. The acceptance of expectation a little bit. So
yeah. And then talking about expectations, throughout the whole entire show, these characters have these expectations as to what Glow is supposed to be like, and the stuff that they have to do for Glow. For example, Cherry, like, she comes in, she's first introduced, and Sam is like, she's a badass, she's going to be the star, like, you're going to watch out for her, like, she's going to be the face of this thing. And then throughout it, she actually kind of has like a diminished spotlight. It starts when Sam fires the actual wrestler, like the one guy who actually knew what he was doing. Later we find out Carmen actually knows what she's doing too because of her family. But anyway, and so then he puts Cherry in charge, and she's like, I don't know anything about wrestling, but okay, I guess I'll be their trainer. So she kind of gets this step back in a way. She ends up actually becoming more of the like trainer / co-director too, because half the time Sam's not even there. So she's there like trying to put the show together without Sam.
Well, Sam is kind of running the gamut between being director and being the producer.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess, not really co-producer because he's not giving any money in, but
yeah,
trying to be more influential with Bosch, who is the actual producer.
Yeah, well, he's also scouting locations. He's also getting, different casting options and all these other things, which, I think that, directors kind of delegate those things off to other people and to producers sometimes.
Yeah, but he doesn't really have the option in this. But then I guess all of this ends up being a good thing for Cherry. Like, even though, like, she was kind of beat down, like, she didn't want to do this, like, she started out as being excited, but then, she kind of almost got pushed around a little bit by Sam, like, forcing her into these other roles she didn't necessarily want. But then at the end, like, she actually got a audition. Like, they went out to find her. Like, she didn't even have to, like, search for auditions. Like, they said, we want you to audition for this. Mm-hmm. She did. She ends up getting a lead role. And now, at the end of the season, she has to decide, is she going to stay with Glow? Or is she going to actually be in this awesome role where she's actually the lead in something?
And I think that will set up a little bit of conflict for the next season, which will be good. But you also have, because you've obviously kind of run through this transition conflict for each of the characters in the show. So you're now going to have an interesting season 2.
I think so. Well, and then as you were kind of bringing up with Dubby too, like her her expectations were, I guess, more focused on her marriage. Like when we meet her, she was coming to the conclusion that the expectations that she had for her marriage were completely like thrown out the window. Like she came to Hollywood to be an actress. She did. She was on TV. You know, she was a star for a while. Then Mark, her husband, says, "Quit your job, marry me, just be a housewife." And she's like, okay, I guess I'll fit this expectation of being a housewife. So she does that for a while. And then what does he do? Like, he, like, essentially, like, turns on her, cheats on her. And so now she can't even have that. Like, she thought that she was going to be this actress. Turns out she's not. She thought she was going to be this, you know, stay-at-home mom and live, you know, that kind of dream. Turns out she wasn't. And so now that's all kind of thrown her for a loop. So her loss of expectation there kind of led her to glow. And then she was also expecting, like, one of the things that Sam had told her to get her to actually wrestle was, hey, Ruth's not going to be in it. We're just going to kick her out. Like, we actually fired her a while ago. She just keeps showing up. We're not sure why.
Which actually was the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, so she was expecting Ruth not to be there, but then Ruth turns out to be this asset for Sam. But anyway, so she goes in more as, like, this is going to be a way to get myself back on my feet. Like, this is essentially just a paycheck. I'm just here for the paycheck. But then she ends up liking it and, like, telling Mark that, you know, you may think this is stupid. You may think this is ridiculous. But I'm having fun. And I feel like I haven't felt more myself in a long time than I have being with these ladies. So I don't know. I've kind of applauded her for that, like, stepping up. Like, I don't see her actually, like, going back to Mark after that.
Depends on if he stayed during the match or not, because she did say, if you don't like this, you can leave.
True.
So, or something like that. I can't remember the exact line that she had there.
I can't remember either. But either way, like, she gave him an invitation to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, I want to talk about Bash. Like, even though, like, this is, like, all, like, star-studded, like, with all these ladies, there's also Bash, who is just your obvious, like, you know, rich trust fund kid who is being, like, fed money constantly by his mom. And he has, like, this weird, wacky, wonderful dream about women's wrestling. Like, he was a wrestling fan as a kid. He loved it. He loves the theatrics of it. He has a bunch of costumes. I'm guessing because of his love for wrestling. Like, he kind of, like, would imagine these characters in his head. And he had this overwhelming fantasy that he was going to be this awesome producer, bring this big show to life, and his mom was just going to keep on giving him money. Then all of a sudden, his mom was like, nope. Like, you've finally spent enough of our money. Like, I'm not going to let you spend any more money on this stupid dream. Which makes sense. Turns out, like, he's made bad business choices that she's found out about. Like, that gym. Apparently, he can't get that insured at all. Like, he bought the gym. He didn't even rent it. Like, yeah. He bought the gym.
Because it was too expensive to rent, or too much paperwork to rent. That's
yes,
what it was.
Yes, too much paperwork.
Because it was on a fault line, which is why he could not get it insured. And so, yeah, you know, now working insurance, I know that would be an unacceptable risk if it's on the fault line, you know. So.
Which like, that kind of stuff, like, bothers me. Like, I see people make those kind of stupid mistakes all the time. Like, they don't want to do the work for something that's going to be better financially for them. So then they just, like, shoot that to the wind and just do, like, the stupid idea that'd be easier for them in the moment.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he does. And then he realizes his mistakes. And his wife, well, not his wife, his mom points it out. And then he doesn't have any money. And then he's panicking because he doesn't know what to do. Like, he's never been in this position where he's not been given money. Like, yep. Literally, like, just, like, fed money into his bank account. And so he kind of panics and has to be resourceful, probably for the first time in his life. Like, figure out how to be an adult and figure out how to fix his mistakes, essentially. So he grows, too. Like, he realizes that he can't just throw money at stuff to get his way. Like, he actually has to rely on other people and other people's ideas in order to try to fix something.
Yeah, and I think that, the ladies learned that car washes are not good fundraisers.
No, which we both know. Like, both of us have had to do car washes, like, in the past for fundraisers. Some of the times, well, I don't know how it was in the 80s, but nowadays you have to get, like, permits. You have to let the city know. You have to, like, make sure, like, the drainage is going into a fine, okay place.
And you're also paying for the water from the business or the place that you're going to go and do the car wash at. You have to pay for all of the soap that you're going to use for the vehicles, the sponges, the chamois, if you're going to be using them. So, yeah, the cost is way more than the benefit.
Yeah, and they make, like, what, like $200 and some bucks?
$200 and some bucks. And then the fundraiser that he takes them to, which was to hijack a fundraiser from his mom. And I think, well, the funny thing is that they were kind of making fun of themselves in that moment and the expectations placed on them. And the funny thing is that that's where both of our points kind of come together in that is that they were telling about their own transitions, but, you know, they didn't really know it because the expectation was to be, you know, the recovering drug addict. And so that wrestling helped them, but really wrestling helped them through their own transitions. And so I think that it really kind of broke them out of the molds, out of their expectations. Yeah,
and I think a lot of people did a lot of growing up just in the last season. I wish we knew more about Reggie. I wish we knew more about Stacy and Dawn, who are the two, like, biddies. Like, they just seem like a hoot. Like, I wish that I could just spend just, like, one day with them, like, doing nonsense, because I think it'd be so much fun. Just today.
I can imagine you prank calling every room in the hotel.
I would not prank. I, Scout's honor, have never prank called anybody. No, it's true. I have not prank called anybody. I'm too afraid.
See, the problem is now that everybody has cell phones.
Yeah.
So, you can't really do that.
Nope.
Is your refrigerator running? you better go catch it.
Oh, geez, no. But I do like to, you know, there's that big thing with Carmen too, like essentially going against her father's wishes. And I did like how Bash and Carmen, like, kind of had, like, this, you know, nice friendship going on. Like, he, in that moment, like, when he, like, stood up for her and, like, tried to, like, build her up, like, that's the turning point for me with him. Then I was like, okay, he is a good guy. Like, he clearly, like, cares about this and sees her as a human enough to stand up for her. Yeah. So that I like that moment.
So, what should we take away from Glow?
I thought you were going to say, what should we eat for dinner?
We're eating leftovers.
Sorry, continue. What should we take away from Glow? Yes. Well, one of the things I think is obvious is that you should be able to, I know this is going to be very cliche, but when life gives you lemons, try to make lemonade. And I know that's a lot easier said than done, especially in real world circumstances. But in the context of the show, like, that's what a lot of these characters did. They were given lemons and they ended up making some lemonade out of it. And some of them are still in the transition of making lemonade, but they're getting there. And like I said, it's not going to be that case for everything, because there's certain things in your life that just, it seems like there's not going to be any sunshine because of it. But ultimately, it is going to be what it is, and you're going to get into a better place. Even once you experience the lowest of lows, there's no place to go but up. Another cliche from Kathy. You're welcome.
Well, and there are times when, you haven't even hit bottom yet, but you feel like you have. And, there's a lot in that. And especially with like we talked about last week, with the two paths after a traumatic event. You know, you can either use it to make you stronger, or you can let it break you and split you into, different people. And so I think that what we should take away from Glow is, especially being human, is allowing yourself to be yourself, is taking that and taking that to your communities, is taking yourself, your whole self, to your community. There was, a few months ago, I got to listen to the CEO of the company that I now work for. And the CEO had said something that really struck me and almost made me cry in that moment. She said, here at work, I want you to be yourself. Don't be someone else. Don't be who you think that you need to be in this work environment. Just be yourself. Bring your whole self to work. And then when you're home, bring your whole self home. Is that don't mix the two. Don't bring your work home with you. Don't bring your home to work, which, granted, that's, going to be a hard thing to do any day. And she even admitted to that. Mm-hmm. But the thing about that is that I realized in that moment that for me, this whole transition from ministry into the real world has been about that. Has been about being human. Has been trying to find who I am and what Miguel is. And I think that's what's missing in the church, is that we don't allow people to be themselves. We want them to be this holier version of them, and that's not accurate. That's not going to be who they are. And they start, wringing their hands, saying, "Oh my, oh me, why are millennials not coming to church anymore?" And that's the reason. And we've talked about this before. Is that they're seeing that there is no authenticity.
Yep.
Within the church. And it goes for the leaders. It goes for, the members who are going to church. When you go to church, you're not interacting with a true being there, because people don't bring their whole selves to church. Mm-hmm.
They're bringing their church self to church.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I found it so hard to trust people in the church. That's why I found it so hard to really get to know anybody within the churches, because I don't think that I ever met a true human being in the church except for in the students who were there. And I think that's why so many kids end up leaving the church after youth group, after they've gone through these experiences where they found God, they found the divine, and then they go to church expecting to find God there, and they can't, because the interactions with everybody else, they're finding masks.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And it's not, this isn't the case for all, because as we said before, like, we were at a very special place once where we felt like the majority of the people there, like, were true and genuine. Like, they really did care about each other. They really did. Sure, they saw people's flaws, but they knew that that's what made them them. That's what made them who they were. And so that they shouldn't just, like, shun them just because they have flaws, because everybody has flaws.
Yep. Well, and I think that what's fantastic in Glow was that Sam, because Sam was who Sam was,
yeah,
that he wanted the ladies to kind of figure it out for themselves, who they wanted to be, after his vision kind of fell apart, and after Bosch kind of told him, no, let them find their own characters, was, kind of reevaluating that, with that moment with Ruth in that. And I think that's true to the community, is that if you have your set expectations for who people are supposed to be at a church, if you have those set expectations for who you're supposed to be at a church, then you're never really going to encounter the divine there. I wrote a few weeks ago, and this is one of my, I think one of my better writing lines, is that Jesus has left the building. And quite honestly, I feel that's how I feel, is that Jesus has left churches, because I don't think Jesus would be in a church on a Sunday morning. Well, honestly, he wouldn't be because he's Jewish and he would be at a synagogue on a Saturday night. So that's, But I think that the character that I read, when I read the Gospels, I read this rabbi who spoke against these higher political authorities, who spoke against these injustices, the greed and the corruption of his day. And he did it in such a way that was open and affirming to everyone.
Yep.
That it was about loving and a loving kindness for everyone. That even though he spoke against these people, he still found a way to welcome them in too.
Yeah, I was about to say he wasn't the type of person to say, "Hey, you tax collector, you're an evil man. You can never come into the kingdom of heaven, ever, ever, ever." If that tax collector turned around and said, "You are right. I want to be a better person," then he was like, "Okay, you can come on in."
Yeah, that's one of the disciples. That's one of the gospel writers. Was a tax collector. And I mean, that's the incredible thing about Christianity. That's why I follow this Christ guy, is because of that. It's because I found in that character true religion, true honest faith in that being. And for me, that's what God looks like. A divine that loves everybody regardless. And that's, I'm finding, we find that throughout, all of our shows here is what are we taking away from the show? What are the honest artifacts in the show? And I think that's it, is that in that transition, that there's still loving and acceptance. And if we can just learn to accept that acceptance as well, as I think that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
So that was our show on Glow. So we do have a bit more time for our closing today, so that's good. I just wanted to spend some time to say, please, give us feedback. If you liked our episode here on Glow, if you liked any of our other episodes, please let us know. You can let us know by finding us on social media. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on Tumblr. We're on Reddit. You
can email us.
We're on Google Plus, but I don't
really
ever check Google Plus. It's still a thing, though, apparently.
Yeah, you can also call us, leave a voicemail. That voicemail number is 720-372-3879. And you can tell us what you thought about the episode. You can tell us your thoughts about the series of Glow. You can tell us about something that has happened in your life where you had expectations that weren't met, and how you kind of came out on top with that.
Yeah, how your transitions to being human for yourself. You can also email us at honestfaithconvos@gmail.com. There is no dual @ symbol in there. It's just honestfaithconvos@gmail.com. You can go to our website, thehonestfaith.com. That's where a lot of my writing is, my blog, as well as links to our show and to our other YouTube channels, which aren't being updated as often anymore because I work for a living now.
Yep. Hooray for money!
Yeah. And also a link to buy my book. Yes. I self-published a book about 2 weeks ago. And so I have it out there. I have a few friends and family who have purchased it now. So I'm really excited about it. This is the first time that I've actually decided to publish my work. And so this is my story about transitions through churches and about my experience with the church.
Yep, and it's available both in normal, traditional book form, and then also an ebook if you prefer to go that route.
If you still have an ebook reader, or if you read books on your tablet or your phone.
Yep.
Some people do that.
Still.
Yeah. So, yeah, buy my book. Let me know what you think about it too. It's really, I want to.
Oh yeah, write a review. If you read it and if you like it, write a review on Amazon. Share it with other people too. Help my husband.
It's meant to be a way to help people who kind of went through some of the same stuff I did with the church, and I hope that it does help people. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. We'll find out.
Well, yes. Maybe that'll be the plot twist.
That'll be the plot twist. It's a twist. All right. So with all of that being said, we invite you to come and join the conversation.
Bye.